scroll. Don't look away. What you're about to hear won't shout at you. It doesn't need to. Because some truths don't echo through noise. They arrive in silence. They whisper through the cracks in your confidence and hit you in the space where you pretend nothing hurts. Close your eyes for a second, not to escape, but to look into that place within you that you always avoid. That quiet, shadowed corner where your rage sleeps, where your shame hides, where your real self lives. This is where we begin. You've worn the mask well, the composed one, the reasonable one, the one who breathes deeply and smiles politely. But I'm not here for that version of you. I'm here for the version that shows up when no one's watching, the one that trembles behind fake serenity, the one that grits its teeth and says, "I'm fine," when it's not. We've been taught that staying calm is strength, that stillness is the prize, that mastering emotions means burying them. But what if that's the lie? True calm isn't learned, it's revealed. It's not a trick you play on your nervous system. It's a fire you walk through, and not everyone makes it back. Let's make something clear. Keeping your cool isn't noble if it's just avoidance. It's not wisdom if it's silence rooted in fear. Sometimes calm is just repression in a prettier outfit. You've been on the edge more than you know. In those wordless arguments, in those cold stares packed with heat, in the moments you swallowed truths until they turned bitter in your chest. You haven't been practicing control. You've been dancing on the edge of collapse. Carl Jung didn't glorify peace. He knew peace without shadow is fiction. He said the self is not whole until it has made peace with its darkness. And you've been denying that part of you. That flicker of anger you try to extinguish. That surge of jealousy you laugh off. That craving for chaos you keep caged. It's not asleep. It's watching. And every time you fake calm, it gets stronger. Because what we push down doesn't disappear. It mutates. It waits. Let's get honest. Most confrontations don't happen out loud. They happen inside. Every time you say yes when you mean no. Every time you nod while something inside you screams. That's where the war is. And the most dangerous wars are the ones no one else can see. You're not losing your temper because someone interrupted you. You're losing it because you've betrayed yourself 100 quiet times. And now, all that swallowed resentment has turned your calm into a ticking bomb. Here's a truth few are ready for. Most people who claim to have self-control are a single disagreement away from breaking. Why? Because their calm is performative. Because it was never built on understanding, only on suppression. But real calm? That's different. That's power. That's the stillness that comes after you've faced yourself and survived. This video isn't a therapy session. It's a mirror. A mirror that doesn't flatter. A mirror that shows the you that you hide. You want to stop losing control during conflict? Then prepare to die. Not physically, psychologically. You must bury that version of yourself that lashes out in the name of justice, that argues to defend the wound, that confuses reaction with righteousness. And in its place, you must grow a version that watches, waits, and chooses. Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to survive in society. But he warned us, if we become the mask, We lose the self beneath it. And you've worn your calm so long you think it's who you are. But calm is an identity. It's not your brand. It's a tool. And tools, when misused, become weapons against yourself. Why do certain people unnerve you? Why does that tone of voice, that smug look, send you spiraling? It's not random. They're mirrors, too. They reflect what you haven't healed. They provoke the parts of you you pretend don't exist. And if you pay attention, really pay attention, you'll learn that your biggest enemies live inside your biggest reactions. Have you ever walked away from an argument thinking you won, but instead you felt empty? Like something in you got bruised, even if you had the final word? That's not victory. That's a collision of egos. Two unhealed wounds, gasping for recognition, scratching at each other, desperate to be seen, but only adding new scars to the old ones. You didn't win. You just bled quieter. Because when you enter a confrontation without knowing your own pain, you don't speak from clarity. You speak from defense, from the part of you that's still waiting to be understood, to be loved, to be enough. So even when your voice is louder, your soul still whispers, something's not right. True mastery? It's not biting your tongue out of fear, and it's not silence designed to manipulate. It's choosing not to engage. Not because you're weak, not because you don't have a comeback, but because you've already made peace with the war inside. It's when you no longer need to be right to feel real. When you can sit in the fire of provocation and not let it burn you. Because you finally understand. Not every battle deserves your energy, and not every trigger deserves your truth. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Not out of apathy, but out of deep, unshakable inner resolve. Because once the storm within you is quiet, there's no chaos loud enough out there that can pull you back in. Here's where everything starts to shift. The turning point, not in your life, but in your awareness. You say you want to stop overreacting? You say you want to remain calm when everything pushes you to explode? Then it starts here, with space, with a single moment, a breath, not just air, but consciousness. Between the trigger and the reaction, there's a gap. And that gap is everything. It's small, so small that most people miss it. They go straight from stimulus to outburst, from discomfort to destruction. They confuse instinct with intention. And in doing so, they become puppets pulled by invisible strings. But that sliver of stillness, that sacred pause where you don't lash out, where you don't defend, where you don't obey your first impulse, that's the birthplace of your power. It's not silence that's weak. It's silence that's deliberate, measured, free. But let's be honest. It's hard. We're wired to react. We live in a world that glorifies immediacy, fast comebacks, quick judgments, instant gratification. No one teaches you to wait, to breathe, to observe without rushing into narrative. Because stillness doesn't trend. Stillness doesn't shout. But stillness sees everything. And that's why it's so rare, so misunderstood, and so unbelievably powerful. Because the one who can pause, even for just a second, is no longer owned by the moment. They own the moment. And that is the beginning of real freedom. Real calm isn't passive. It's not some vacant, emotionless state. It's not detachment dressed up as wisdom. It's presence. It's power restrained. It's the quiet confidence that doesn't flinch when challenged and doesn't roar to be heard. It doesn't need to prove itself in a room full of noise. It doesn't seek validation, attention, or applause. It simply exists, unmoved, unwavering. And that, in itself, is terrifying. Because real calm can't be baited. It can't be manipulated, provoked, or twisted. It doesn't rise to the drama, doesn't sink to the insult, doesn't bend to the chaos of others. Instead, it holds a mirror, one that reflects back the madness of those who thrive on conflict. And that reflection, it's unbearable for people who haven't faced their own noise. Because your stillness, your silence, reveals how loud their inner storm truly is. When you no longer react from the wound, when your choices come from clarity instead of pain, you step into a version of yourself that no longer depends on the battlefield to feel strong. You're not avoiding the fight. You've simply evolved beyond it. And people don't know what to do with someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't fight, and doesn't fall. You're not weak. You're not soft. You're untouchable. Not because you've armored up, but because you've laid the armor down and discovered you never needed it. That's the kind of calm that disrupts everything around it. Not by force, but by presence. You didn't come here for comfort. You came here to transform, to meet yourself beyond the noise, to finally feel what's been buried. Because that calm you crave, it's not about smiling through storms. It's about knowing the storm is in you and still choosing the path that doesn't burn everything down. So let's make it clear. You're not here to learn to look calm. You're here to become it. Because when you do, the world shifts. The chaos avoids you. The conflict loses its grip. And the mask finally falls. If this pierced something in you, don't pretend it didn't. This space isn't for the numb. It's for those brave enough to feel. Comment below. Silence is my armor. Consciousness is my sword. So I know you made it through. So I know you're one of us. Not just watching, awakening. And remember, real confrontation begins inside. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Welcome to the edge. We'll meet again in the places most people run from.